Arsenal have started 2025 with a bang, smashing 3 past Brentford to close the gap to 6. So from a masterclass from Thomas Partey to the real impact of Gabriel Jesus, Arsenal's newest game changer, and the latest on Arsenal's early transfer window moves. As per, let's break it all down and discuss the 5 things we learned from Brentford 1, Arsenal 3. Yo, what is going on guys? My name is Bass14, welcome back to your boys channel, and I hope you guys are doing sensational after Arsenal started 2025 with 3 goals, 3 points and a fantastic performance. We have got so much to break down. So as per, smash a like if you enjoy and subscribe to the channel if you are new. In a brand new year, the goal is the same, 300,000 subscribers. But starting off with a midfield masterclass. In a game that had some breaking news going into it, key players Declan Rice and Kai Havertz, rumoured to be struggling with the illness, come the lineup Mikel Arteta turned to a certain Thomas Partey, returning as Arsenal's number 6, against a Brentford side that's known for its transitional qualities, so good and so effective on the counter-attack. As perfectly shown by their first goal, there was a lot of pressure on Partey. Could he offer Arsenal a level of transition control that Declan Rice certainly can? Well, in terms of the stats, Arsenal had more possession, had 51 final third entries, and a far higher expected threat rate at 3.6. Starting 2025 with 68% field tilt, Thomas Partey was outstanding with a 7.4 rating. 72 touches, 51 accurate passes, a whopping 6 out of 6 ground duels won, as well as 3 clearances and 5 tackles, not dribbled past a single time. Partey was showing a high level of authority, a step ahead of the Brentford players on the counter-attack, aggressive in winning the ball back and keeping Arsenal high up the pitch. It was a major reason why Arsenal were able to sustain pressure, which was so important when it came to Arsenal's equaliser. Having gone 1-0 down after a fairly good start, shocked by Brentford taking the lead on the counter-attack, with Thomas Partey consistently win the ball back in midfield, Arsenal were able to regain their control. And there's quite a few things that I loved about the first goal, with a fantastic pass from Gabriel Martin to find Gabriel Martin. Risk-taking in the final third that Arsenal have definitely lacked. But even more importantly, Arsenal was shooting. The example of Partey himself taking a shot outside the box, forcing a great save from the Brentford goalkeeper, that allowed Gabriel Jesus to score a rebound. In a year that Arsenal have had so much ball in the opposition's final third, sometimes it's about taking a simple risk. A shot from outside the box that might not go in, but if deflected or if saved, it can create you a massive opportunity. Mikel Arteta is a very smart man and he often has so many solutions, but in a league where Arsenal consistently are up against the deepest of blocks, teams don't like going blow for blow, because they've seen the 5 goals against Crystal Palace, they've seen the 6 against West Ham, they've seen the 5 against Sporting Lisbon. If you give this Arsenal team space, they will thrive. But in terms of finding a way to beat the deep blocks, something as simple as beating your man and taking a shot can entirely change the momentum of a game. For Partey himself, it was of course a reminder. Entering now the final 6 months of his Arsenal contract, he is now free to speak to any club to agree a pre-contract for the summer. This year for me has been one of our most consistent players. In a game where a few Arsenal players stepped up, for me Partey was the man of the match. But in the same midfield you also had a start from Mikel Martin, dropping an 8.0 rating after scoring one important goal, with 32 accurate passes and 3 ground duels won. He also made 3 tackles. It's very important we clarify what Marino is to Arsenal. To fans that demand an explosive player on the ball, that is a midfield metronome, that's not where Marino thrives. Instead he makes our midfield sturdy, offering defensive balance, fantastic duel winning numbers, an essential part of Arsenal trying to sustain pressure, keep their foot on the opposition neck. But where our right number 8 Martin Odegaard is a more creative player, it seems that Mikel Arteta wants his left foot to be almost a secondary striker. You think about the arrival of Kai Havertz last season, a striker that can play in midfield, that can arrive into the box and then score goals. Then you look at Mikel Marino's heat map for this game, clearly involved on the left hand side, but not scared to drift to the right, with a clear emphasis inside the box, trying to crash the left hand side, especially after scoring yet another important goal. Set piece FC thriving once again, as Marino gave Arsenal the lead. His celebration was of course beautiful, and for Arsenal once again it was yet another reminder to the entire league. When it comes to set pieces, we are the kings, having now created 14 big chances from set plays this season. We also don't have a final pass killer from open play. We're talking Kevin De Bruyne or Trent Alexander-Arnold. When it comes to set plays, the team comes alive. Consistently fantastic deliveries, met by players arriving at the box at a perfect time. Think about the feeling that Arsenal fans get once we get a corner. The way that stadiums go quiet, with anticipation that something could happen. Arsenal are becoming inevitable. And here was Nicolas Jover after the game, celebrating from the Arsenal way end, pointing towards his family in the crowd. Let's talk about Martin Odegaard's performance though, who dropped a 7.2 rating, with 48 passes and 1 key pass. I wouldn't say that it was an amazing performance. With a slight issue in Odegaard's current game, we're talking the weight of his pass. Despite being often so secure on the ball, when playing him on the right hand side, whenever you see him pass out wide, too often he's overcooking it, forcing our players more wide. It's the fine margins that are costing Arsenal making more big openings. In terms of solution, it could be as simple as changing his angle, because whenever he flows to the left hand side, his passing does seem to become more dangerous, more vertical and more risk-taking. Having seen the likes of Bukayo Saka thrive from the left to the right, taking midfielders into fullbacks, then fullbacks into opposite sides, why not try Odegaard on the left-hand side, especially in games that also need extra creativity? Moving on to the second thing, the Brazilian brace. In another game without our star boy Bukayo Saka, the Arsenal attackers were once again asked the question, who was going to step up? One player that certainly rose was Gabriel Jesus. Seen after the game here with the Player of the Match award, with a very bright smile. In the game he dropped an 8.1 rating, with 1 goal scored and 3 shots, 4 out of 4 dribbles, and 5 out of 9 ground duels won. He now has 6 goals in his last 4 games in all competitions. With 7 goals in the entire season, he is now 1 goal shy of his entire tally last year. From the moment he scored, I became so much more confident that Arsenal weren't going to lose this game, all because of his insane record of never losing in a game that he scores inside the Premier League. Now 62 games, 57 wins, 5 draws and 0 defeats. His goal itself was actually very promising. On paper it might be a tap-in. I love the way that Jesus was active inside the box, on his feet showing his attacking instincts, to poach in a very vital goal. But more importantly, there's also a bigger impact. When you look at Arsenal's passing networks in the game, what you see straight away is a more balanced Arsenal front three, with Jesus drifting towards the left. You then compare it to our game against Man United at home this season, with Havertz as our striker and Jesus on the bench. Look at how more isolated Gabriel Martin was. Having arrived at Arsenal back in 2022-23, it was no coincidence that when he was thriving, so was Gabriel Martin. Having now started 3 games in a row, it's also coincided with Martinelli scoring 2 goals in 3. In terms of Martinelli himself, he dropped an 8.0 rating. Back on the left with a fantastic goal score, with 1 out of 1 dribble and 4 key passes. The goal itself was massive, not only to kill the game, but the confidence that he showed in front of goal. A ruthless finish and a throwback to 2022-23. The celebration itself was beautiful, with Martinelli clearly passionate, wearing an Arsenal scarf to show his love for the club, but also surrounded by his teammates who all look so happy. That is now 55 goals and assists in Martinelli's entire Premier League career, with a total of 37 goals and 18 assists. He now has more Premier League goals than Sam Nwaneri, and more importantly, he has 5 league goals this season, just 1 shy of his entire tally last year. When asked after the game on the Bukayo Saka injury, Martinelli says no one can replace him. He's one of the best players in the world, but we know our potential. We trust each other that we're going to try our best for the club, and for Bukayo as well. I'm sure he's happy with that result. It's not about saying that Martinelli's back. Despite scoring 5 goals from next year 3, with a fantastic 23% goal conversion, my concern is a drop off in one-on-one quality. Well, back in 2022-23, Martinelli was averaging 1.6 dribbles per game at a 52% success rate. This year it's only 1.1, down to 36%. On the left-hand side, we also need a specialist in 1v1s, someone that can create something out of nothing, provide a moment of magic. Is it down to a lack of confidence or a lack of ability? So talk to me down below in the comments. What are your honest thoughts on the player currently? Moving on to the third thing, Arsenal's game changer. 17 years of age and making your first ever Premier League start. This was a massive day for Nwaneri. At the same ground where in September 2022, he became the youngest ever Arsenal player in history. January 2025, not only was he starting, but he was also thriving. Starting on the right wing for the first ever time, as Arsenal tried to fill the void of Bukayo Saka, Nwaneri dropped a 7.1 rating. With 2 successful dribbles and 2 key passes, a 92% passing accuracy. In the first half, he was the only player to complete all of his passes, 17 of 17, while also creating 2 chances, a figure only bettered by Gabriel Martinelli. A must-win game with so much pressure, the likes of Odegaard not at their best. Nwaneri was the definition of a game changer. Having gone 1-0 down and Arsenal struggling, David Ryan nearly conceding a howler within a matter of seconds when he picked the ball up and changed our momentum, beating his man with a moment of brilliance. Asking Brentford a question they couldn't answer. This is why I keep saying that Arsenal need ball carriers. They can change the energy of the entire game. They can bring your team to life. In terms of Nwaneri, he was his touch man. Of course playing on the right hand side, but not scared to drift inwards. There's something about watching him play. There's something so explosive about his talent. The example in the second half where he burst past his player by knocking it past him. So silky, so smooth and so exciting. In terms of Mikel Arteta, he said Nwaneri played really good. In training he gives us all the right reasons. We could have signed a player from any country, but he would be playing. He's an academy player and he needs to be playing because he deserves it. But here's what makes Nwaneri so special for Arsenal. It's not the fact that he's so talented, that's obvious. It's the fact that he offers Arsenal a profile that we don't really have. An exciting and inventive ball carrier in the final third. Less reliant on his passing and more trustworthy in taking players on. It's less about coaching and more about quality. Nwaneri is a definition of a pure footballing talent. This was a statement performance. Your first ever league start and you're involved in every single Arsenal goal. Stepping up in the role of our best player. Nwaneri was saying thank you for the start, but I'm not here for one game, I am here to stay. In the absence of Bukayo Saka as a left-footed right winger, with similar levels of 1v1 quality, completing a whopping 86% of his dribbles so far this season, another Amazon Prime Hell End delivery, with Miles Lewis-Skelly being another. In this game coming off the bench and playing 12 minutes, with 3 out of 3 passes and 2 ground balls won. As Declan Rice said perfectly, it's like Lewis-Skelly was built in a lab. It's just ridiculous how good he is. In Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly, what Arsenal have here are ready-made first teamers. Players that in terms of the transfer market could cost upwards of a combined £80 million, and this is only the start. Their first year breaking into the first team, 2 Arsenal star boys bursting onto the scene at the same time. Where have we seen this before? And it also dispels a myth about Mikel Arteta. The whole thing that he doesn't trust youth. Maybe it's never been a lack of trust, and more a matter of waiting for players that are ready to enter this first team to not only play a part but also improve it. In terms of Miles Lewis-Skelly himself, according to Isan Khan, he is in line now for a new bumper long-term contract, as the club want to secure the defender's future to ward off interest from elsewhere, as well as making him feel rewarded for his performances and progression in the squad. Moving on to the fourth thing, London domination. Having gone all of 2024 without a single London derby defeat, we started 2025 correctly. Now 11 London derbies undefeated, 9 wins and 2 draws. And you think about the goals that we scored: 5 against Chelsea, 5 against Crystal Palace, 6 against West Ham, and now 3 against Brentford. But this game was far from simple. After going 1-0 down to a sucker punch, you then had this moment from David Raya, where he spilled a shot that nearly went to the back of the net, but thankfully was able to make a fantastic recovery. Less than a minute later, Arsenal were on the attack and they were able to find an equaliser. A real positive sign in terms of character. In a game that also limited Brentford to a 0.32 XG and made 2.07 of their own, the defence was once again standouts, as Gabriel dropped a 7.2 rating, with 6 clearances and 1 interception, 2 aerial duels won, and 42 accurate passes, with Saliba dropping a 6.8, making 3 clearances, and completing 62 passes. The positive sign is that Arsenal were able to come back, 1-0 down with a lot of doom and gloom, having seen Arsenal struggle in their game stay, missing their most creative attacker in Bukayo Saka, to then force a way back against the informed home team in the league, that going into this game, had the joint best record in Anfield, the most home league goals scored. Against Arsenal, they were able to make a single big chance. So approaching a new year where the pressure is growing, we know that without Bukayo Saka it won't be easy, but seeing our defence completely nullify Brentford is going to be the backbone to any Arsenal success. Moving on to the fifth thing, steady progress. 3 points and 3 goals scored is always impressive, but even more when you think about our circumstances. No Bukayo Saka, no Kai Havertz, 2 of Arsenal's top goal scorers. In a year where Arsenal have been unlucky with injuries, missing their captain for 2 months, now no Saka for 3, Arsenal are still churning out results, having now gone 12 games undefeated, with 10 wins and 2 draws, a whopping 32 goals scored. In the title race we remain second, pulling clear of Forest and Chelsea in 3rd and 4th, 6 points behind Liverpool, who of course have a game in hand. But more importantly, we are now on 39 points after 19 games. You compare that to last year, where after 20 games we only had 40. If able to win our next game, we will be 2 points up on last season, which of course is very important, because we missed out on the title by only 2. Liverpool might be flying, but we can only focus on ourselves. Having topped the 2024 league table, if able to win against Brighton over the last 38 league games, Arsenal would have amassed 92 points. So for all the questions about our style of play, talk about Arsenal regressing, our results certainly don't suggest that. So approaching another massive weekend in the title race, as Arsenal play Brighton away at the Amex, a day before Liverpool take on Man United at Anfield, it does mean that Arsenal will have a chance to close the gap down to 3. But going to Brighton won't be simple, especially after Yuri Timber got a yellow card, meaning he's not suspended for the game on the weekend. With no Ben White and no Takehiro Tomiyasu, it looks like it might be a game with Thomas Partey at right back. But for Arsenal, they have to continue to keep rolling, because as Mikel Arteta says, we've broken so many records, but the reality is this team doesn't have the big titles that we are looking for. That's where we need to focus, of course, on the January transfer window. With the window now officially open, Arsenal have a chance to show ambition. The reliable Sami Mokbel has now confirmed the club are actively looking to sign a forward in this next month, in a market always about opportunities. According to Mokbel, PSG's Randall Koulibaly has been offered to Arsenal, a player that thrived at Frankfurt but struggled at PSG, once costing €95 million. I don't think he'll be Arsenal's number 1 option. Instead, you've got a lot of other names, one being Omar Mamouche of Eintracht Frankfurt, as reports confirm Arsenal are chasing the Egyptian, and they might have competition, but they are definitely trying to sign him. With 18 goals and 12 assists this season, it makes sense why Arsenal would want him. The fact that he can play as a striker and behind the striker, while also thrive on the left hand side, it would address so many of Arsenal's key issues. Price tag wise, of course it won't be cheap, but in a very promising update from Sami Mokbel, he confirms that money is not an issue for Arsenal this January. The club are well within the profit and sustainability regulations. The only constraints on spending will be the Gunners' own means. The money is available, and now it's a question of going out there and trying to prize away a top player because teams never want to sell in January. But as we've seen in windows in the past, that doesn't make transfers impossible. That is the video there and there, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, don't forget to smash a like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to follow your boy on all over social medias, and the links are down in the description. But that was the first episode of the 5 things we learned in 2025, with 3 points and 3 goals scored, and of course the return of Transfers FC. Things are about to get very interesting, so as my friends, stay tuned. I'll see you very soon. Take care.